The day I returned home, my ex looked at me like a stranger, but she had no idea I came back with the truth that would destroy everything she built. The taxi rolled to a slow stop at the beginning of the street where my childhood lived. The driver looked back at me and nodded politely, but for a moment I didn't move. I just sat there, staring through the window as the past rose around me like dust in the air. This street. I had run on it as a child, barefoot and carefree. I had walked on it as a teenager, dreaming of a future that felt bright and reachable. And I had left it behind 7 years ago, proud, confident, and full of plans. Now I was returning in a taxi, tired, older, and carrying a heart full of memories that still hurt. When I finally stepped out, the air hit me with a strange mix of warmth and coldness. The winter breeze brushed against my face, but the familiar smell of old brick walls, dry leaves, and distant cooking from neighborhood houses made the place feel alive again. Even the dirt under my shoes felt like it recognized me. I pulled my small bag from the seat and shut the door gently. The taxi drove away, leaving a soft cloud of dust behind. And there he was. My grandpa. He stood at the gate of our old house, leaning on the same wooden stick he used years ago. His hair had grown wider, his back slightly more bent, but his eyes, those eyes were the same. Gentle, strong, full of unspoken love. But the moment he saw the taxi leaving, his eyebrows lifted high, and he took a slow step forward. "Why did you come by taxi?" he asked, his voice full of surprise and confusion. "What happened to the BMW we gave you?" His question hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just about the car. It was about everything I'd lost, everything that had slipped out of my hands in these 7 painful years. But I wasn't ready to talk about that yet. Not now, not here. So I forced a smile. "Long story, Grandpa," I said softly. He studied my face for a moment, searching for answers I wasn't ready to give. His eyes lingered on the tiredness under my eyes, the way my shoulders looked heavier than before. But he didn't push. He simply nodded and stepped aside to let me in. Before I could move, something pulled my attention across the street. A familiar movement. A familiar presence. A familiar pain. Ayla. She was standing outside her small flower shop, the same place that used to be an empty, abandoned room when we were younger. Now it was bright, alive, full of colors. Buckets of roses, lilies, and jasmine lined the front, their scent spreading gently across the road. She stood with her back half turned to me, arranging fresh flowers into a metal bucket. Her long black hair was tied loosely, with soft strands falling around her face as the evening breeze played with them. Her hands moved with a calm grace, but there was something tired in the way her shoulders drooped. 7 years. 7 whole years since I had last seen her. Yet it felt like no time had passed at all. My heart reacted before my mind could stop it, tightening, racing, aching. As if sensing something, she looked up. Our eyes met. And time stopped. Her hands froze mid-air, the rose petals brushing against her fingers. A small gasp escaped her lips, almost too soft to hear. Her eyes widened for a split second before she looked away quickly, pretending to focus on the flowers again. But I had seen it. That flicker of shock. That trembling fear. That edge of guilt she couldn't hide fast enough. The same emotions I had seen in her eyes the night she left me, the night she disappeared without a trace. The wind carried the faint scent of her roses toward me. It mixed with the old memories that rushed through my mind. Her laughter echoing in the fields behind our town. Her hand slipping into mine as we walk home after school. Her head resting on my shoulder during long summer evenings. Her whispering dreams of a future we thought we would share. Then the memory shifted, darker, colder. Her crying quietly in our small kitchen. Her telling me to stay home that night. My phone buzzing the next morning with her message. "Don't come back for me." And after that, nothing. No explanation. No goodbye. No closure. Just silence. A silence that lived inside me for 7 years. I forced myself to turn away before I drowned in those memories. Grandpa's voice brought me back. "Come inside, son. You must be tired." I nodded and walked toward him, but my mind stayed behind, stuck on the woman across the road who once held my future in her hands. Still, even as I tried to walk forward, something inside me felt unsettled. Meeting Ayla again wasn't just uncomfortable or surprising. It felt like the beginning of something bigger, something heavy that had been sleeping under the surface for years. Something she was still hiding. I took one last glance at her. She was pretending to arrange flowers, but her hands trembled. Her face had gone pale, and she kept her gaze firmly down, avoiding me as if my presence stirred a truth she didn't want to confront. 7 years ago, she cut me out of her life without warning. 7 years ago, she used one message to break everything we had. And now, seeing her like this, nervous, shaken, almost guilty, I realized something. She still remembered. She still felt it. And she still carried a secret. I followed Grandpa into the house, but I knew this visit was not going to be simple. Not with her living right across the street. Not with the past sitting between us like a storm waiting to break. And not with the truth still buried behind her trembling eyes. One thing was certain. Coming home was going to open wounds I had tried to forget, and reveal answers I wasn't sure I was ready to face. I didn't plan to see her again so soon. After dinner with Grandpa, I stepped outside to get some fresh air. The evening sky was painted with soft orange and pink clouds, and a mild breeze carried the scent of flowers from across the street. I kept telling myself I was just walking, just clearing my head, but my steps led me straight toward her shop. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe anger. Maybe the 7 years of silence that refused to stay quiet anymore. The light inside her shop was still on. It cast a warm glow onto the street, making the petals in the window look like tiny sparks of color. Through the half-open door, I could see her cleaning the counter, moving slowly as if her thoughts were far away. I took a deep breath and stepped in. She froze the moment she heard my footsteps. Slowly, she looked up. Her eyes widened just a little, but she quickly tried to mask the reaction with an empty smile. "You came back," she said quietly. Her voice was softer than I remembered. Softer, and somehow sadder. "I had to," I replied. I didn't know what else to say. Too many questions lived inside me, but none of them were ready to be spoken. Not yet. A heavy silence filled the space between us. It wasn't the kind of silence that comes when two people have nothing to say. It was the kind that comes when two people want to say too much, but don't know where to start. She placed a cloth on the counter and folded her hands together, but I could see the way her fingers trembled lightly. Her gaze kept falling to the floor instead of meeting mine. "You look different," she whispered. "You do too," I said. She gave a small, sad smile. "Life changes people." "Or people change life," I answered. That made her flinch. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Memories pushed themselves into every corner. Her laughter, our late-night walks, her hand wrapped around mine. But those were ghosts now, floating somewhere between us. I stepped closer. "You didn't answer my message." Her lashes fluttered. There was nothing to say. 7 years, Ayla. 7 years you disappeared. No explanation. No goodbye. No truth. Her throat moved as she swallowed hard. "Please, don't start this." "Start what?" I asked. "The truth." This time she looked up, and her eyes glistened as if she were holding back more than just words. Some truths are better left alone. That sentence hit me deeply. It didn't sound like a woman who wanted peace. It sounded like someone running from a past she didn't want to face. I studied her face carefully. It wasn't just guilt or discomfort. It was fear. Real fear. "Ayla, what happened back then?" I asked softly. She shook her head, turning away. "It doesn't matter now." "It matters to me." She closed her eyes for a moment, breathing shakily. "You moved on, didn't you?" "No." The answer came out before I could stop it. She seemed shaken by my honesty. Her fingers gripped the counter as if she needed support. She looked at me again, and for a second, I could see the girl I once loved. Fragile, emotional, honest. But just as quickly, she pushed that version of herself away and put her guard back up. "I don't want to reopen old wounds," she said. "It won't help either of us." "Old wounds?" I repeated. "You call 7 years of silence just a wound?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. I took another step forward, and she instinctively stepped back. It wasn't fear of me. It was the fear of what would spill out if she didn't keep her distance. My eyes drifted to something lying on the corner of the counter. A small notebook, colorful, with a drawing of a smiling sun on the cover. It looked out of place in the flower shop. Curiosity pulled me closer. I could see the name written on it now. Ayan Khan, Grade 1. My last name. My breath caught. The room tilted for a moment, and everything inside me went still. Before I could touch it, Ayla quickly grabbed the notebook and held it close to her chest. Her reaction was too sudden, too protective, too desperate. "It's just a customer's child," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "What customer writes my last name on a school notebook?" I asked quietly. She looked away, biting her lip hard, her shoulders shaking just a little. I knew her too well. Her lies were always written in the way she avoided my eyes. "Ayla," I whispered, "you're hiding something." She shook her head. "Please, don't do this." "Do what?" I asked, softer now. Ask why the woman I loved walked away without a reason, or why she kept my name on a notebook for a child. Her tears gathered again. She turned around, placing the notebook behind some flower buckets as if hiding it could erase its existence. "I can't talk about it," she whispered. "You owe me the truth." She squeezed her eyes shut. "I owe you nothing." That hurt more than I expected. Her voice cracked as she said it, but she didn't take the words back. I stepped back, not because I wanted to, but because something in me realized she was at her breaking point. Her hand shook as she wiped a fake tear from her cheek. She kept her back turned, refusing to face me. Just then, a small noise came from the back room, a soft thud, like something had fallen. Ayla tensed. Her eyes widened with panic before she forced herself to stay calm. "Is someone here?" I asked. "No," she replied too quickly. Just boxes." But her trembling voice betrayed her. Something wasn't right. Something big. Something she had been hiding for 7 years. I looked around the shop once more, the drawings on the wall, the small shoes near the back door, the quiet atmosphere that felt lived in, not just worked in. A child lived here. A child she didn't want me to see. A child with my last name. I didn't push further. Not tonight. She was already breaking, and the truth was already bleeding through the cracks. I stepped toward the door. "Ayla," I said calmly, "whatever you're hiding, it will come out." She didn't turn around. She just nodded faintly, as if she already knew I was right. And as I walked away, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't just a reunion. This was the beginning of uncovering a truth that would turn both our lives upside down. And deep inside her eyes, behind the fear, behind the shaking hands, behind the lies, I saw something else. She was scared of losing something. Or someone. The next morning came quietly, with soft sunlight slipping through the curtains of my old room. I hadn't slept much. Too many thoughts, too many questions, too many memories fighting for space in my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ayla's trembling hands, her scared eyes, the notebook with my last name, and that small noise from the back of her shop. It didn't feel like boxes. It felt like footsteps. And today, I needed answers. Not because of revenge. Not because of anger. But because something inside me whispered that the truth was no longer far away. After breakfast, when Grandpa went out to meet a neighbor, I stepped outside and wandered down the old street again. The morning breeze was cool, carrying the mixed scents of flowers and fresh bread from the bakery nearby. Everything looked peaceful, too peaceful for the storm building inside me. I followed a small path behind the houses, toward the empty park where I used to play as a child. I didn't know why I was walking there, until I saw him. A little boy, sitting alone on the rusty swing. He had short black hair, a round face, and eyes so sharp and familiar that my heart stopped for a moment. His legs swung back and forth slowly, like he wasn't in a hurry to go anywhere. He hummed a soft tune, almost like a habit, something I used to do when I was his age. I took a few steps closer before I even realized what I was doing. The sunlight hit his face at an angle, and that's when I saw it clearly. His dimple. The same one I had. The same one Grandpa used to poke and laugh about. My breath caught in my chest. An invisible hand tightened around my heart. "Iron," a voice called from behind. "Ayla." She rushed into the park, holding a water bottle and a lunchbox. But the moment she saw me, she froze. Her steps stuttered. Her expression melted from calm to panic in seconds. "Ayla," I whispered, my voice breaking. "He's mine, isn't he?" The world around us fell silent. Even the wind seemed to stop moving. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Her eyes filled instantly, her hand shaking around the lunchbox. I walked forward slowly, unable to tear my gaze away from the boy. "You named him Iron," I said quietly. "Close to my name." Tears escaped her eyes as she nodded, her throat tightening. She didn't try to lie this time. She didn't try to run. She knew the truth had already spoken for her. "He's 6, she whispered. "Born a year after you left." My knees felt weak. I had a son. A child I never held, never saw, never knew about. A child who carried my face, my blood, my last name written secretly in a notebook she hid from me. "Why?" I asked, my voice barely a breath. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her shoulders fell as if the weight she had been carrying for 7 years suddenly became too heavy. She looked at me with pain deep enough to drown in. "I tried to protect you," she said softly. "Protect me from what?" She took a long, shaking breath. "Your brother." My jaw clenched. "What about him?" "He came to me," she whispered, voice trembling. "He said if you had a future with me, you would lose everything. Your inheritance, your position in the family, the business your father promised you. He said you would end up struggling, miserable, that your family would never accept a child born outside marriage, especially with someone like me." Her words hit me like sharp stones. "He told me," she continued, tears falling freely now, "that the best gift I could give you was to walk away, to disappear before I ruined your life." I believed him. I was young, scared, and pregnant. She covered her face with her hands and sobbed. I didn't know what else to do. I stared at her, speechless. My brother, the man I trusted, had destroyed the one thing I loved most. Not because of money. Not because of family honor. Because he wanted everything for himself. I took a slow breath, trying to steady the storm inside me. "Ayla, you took my son away from me." She cried harder. I know. And I regret it every day." 7 years, I whispered. 7 years of his life I can never get back." She fell to her knees in the grass, shaking, unable to look at me. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Her tears soaked the ground, but for the first time, I didn't move to comfort her. The pain wasn't something that could be wiped away by a simple apology. I felt a small tug on my hand. I looked down. Ian stood beside me, holding my fingers with his tiny hand. There was no fear in his eyes, only curiosity, innocence, and something strange. Trust. "Are you crying because of him?" he asked his mother softly. Ayla broke down completely. I knelt and gently placed my hand on Ian's head. He looked up at me and smiled, a warm, innocent smile that melted something inside me. "Do you know who I am?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, but you look like me." The simple honesty of a child. It cut deeper than any lie ever could. I looked back at Ayla, whose entire world seemed to be collapsing in front of her. Her hands were shaking, her breaths uneven, her heart breaking with each passing second. "Ayla," I said quietly, "I won't take him away." She gasped as if she had been holding her breath for hours. "But," I continued, "I can't give you what you want." She frowned through her tears. "What do you mean?" I looked straight into her eyes, calm, steady, but firm. "He will know me," I said softly, "but he will never know who you were to me." Her face crumpled instantly. "Please, don't say that, please." "You broke something that can't be fixed," I said. My voice wasn't harsh. It wasn't loud. It was the kind of voice that comes from a place too deep, too wounded. "You stole years from me. From him. From us." She shook her head violently. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought." "That's the problem," I interrupted gently. "You didn't trust me enough to let me decide." Her tears poured like rain, and she covered her mouth to stop herself from crying out loud. She knew this wasn't revenge made of anger. This was revenge made of truth, of reality, painfully calm, quiet, but final. I stood up, still holding Ian's hand. Ayla stayed on her knees, trembling, her tears falling like they would never stop. It wasn't just the truth that broke her, it was the sentence she knew she couldn't erase. I took a slow step back. Then another. And another. She reached out a hand weakly, as if trying to hold onto something already gone. "Please, don't walk away," she whispered. But I did. Not because I wanted to hurt her. Not because I hated her. But because she had created a wound that could never close. I walked away with my son beside me, the soft sound of his footsteps the only thing grounding me. Behind us, Ayla broke completely, crying into her hands, finally facing the truth she tried to hide for 7 long years. And she knew. This was the revenge she had unknowingly written for herself. The kind made not of anger, but of loss. Final line. Some losses you feel forever, and some you create with your own hands.